News of the day, Deshaun Watson, Ephraim, settles with 20 of the 24 women who are suing him civilly. 4 of them, of course, didn't accept the settlement. But here's what I want to ask you. Now, the league has said that this will play no role in what their suspension is for him. I do feel like this has obviously gotten ugly in the court of public opinion, right? Whether they rule him guilty or not, it's just a bad look. I think whatever the suspension is, I think it has to be something where the public feels like he's paying a price. And so when he comes back, whatever that suspension, I'm just going to tell you what I think. I think a season. And now if he's just proven innocent and it looks like he was unfortunately the victim of just a huge, scheme to get him, then obviously I don't want a year suspension. Barring that, I think a year, because I think fans would be like, when he comes back after a season off, really 2, I think people will be like, okay, he paid the price. He will have had time to rehabilitate himself publicly, whether it's just doing good deeds or talk, whatever it might be. But I think it has to be something where people are like, okay, he paid the price, so they can feel better about cheering for him. But that's my take. What is yours?
Now, in terms of being found guilty, he's not being tried in the court of law. It's a civil suit. So there is no admission of guilt in a civil suit.
Right.
So you got to take that part off the table, because the grand jury twice didn't feel it was enough to indict him and bring up criminal charges. So now you're right when you're talking about he's being tried in the court of public opinion, because that's a civil suit. There'll be a monetary award, levied if he's found to be responsible for whatever that. Not an admission of guilt, though.
Right.
So
responsible. Right.
I don't know if the NFL can fine him or suspend him based on that, because it's already said that he won't face criminal charges. Well,
but they don't need criminal charges,
and they don't need that. But with it, now, if this was a case that the outcome could have been like jail or whatever that is. Now that's a whole different set of parameters, and in that aspect, you would definitely wait for the courts to do their thing before you even did anything. But the NFL is in a position to where they can address a situation that's been looming for almost 2 years now, to where they can come out today. They can come out tomorrow and say, hey, Deshaun Watson, based on the information we've gathered, is going to be gone for 10 games, 8 games, 7 games, 14 games, or a year. Right? If they do, like you said, if they do a year, that should, and I don't want to say satisfy people, but it's a hard stance the NFL is taking.
Right.
Because that'll be 2 years that this young man hasn't been able to play while dealing with his off-the-field issues, which we're like, okay, well, it happens. When Michael Vick got, sent to prison for 18 months, I believe it was, when he came out, people were like, okay, he paid
he got a second chance.
He got a second chance. And so in that aspect, the NFL's in a situation where they don't want to make the same mistake they did with the Ray Rice situation.
Right.
And subsequently, since the Ray Rice situation, it's been, they're not rushing in to punish or do anything before they feel they have all the information and all the facts.
And I think they also, Ephraim, weigh the court of public opinion.
Yeah. Well, you have to.
Yeah. They take into consideration what the temperature of the public is regarding this player. So what do you think? I've said, and again, if something changes with the way it looks, you're right. There won't be any admission of guilt. But if it comes out in the civil court, you know what? There's just not the story looks differently. It starts to favor him more so than the women, which I would argue it favors the women right now.
Mm-hmm.
Then I think if that's the case, I wouldn't feel good about a year suspension. But right now, from what I see, I feel like a year is appropriate. And I feel like you said, that would appease the public who feels like, man, this guy's got to pay some type of price for what he did to these women. What do you think would be fair?
And you got to, and
with what we know now, I know we don't know
with what
everything.
we know now, I think a year suspension would be fair, because no matter what, something is going on. He, 66 massages in 18 months or whatever it is. Masseuses, not massage, masseuses.
That's a big difference, right?
Like there's something there. Inappropriate behavior, there's something there, obviously. Whether it rises to the level of a criminal act, that it was deemed that wasn't the case for whatever reason.
Right.
But you don't have to commit a crime to be out of pocket. You get what I'm saying? Like, you don't have to commit a crime to be out of pocket.
Right.
Like, you can do some things. You come on, bro. You tripping. You tripping, right? There's a lot of you trippings out there. Right. And I think this is a situation where he was tripping. Like, flat out, he was tripping no matter what all it takes is one, right? You can have 65 masseuse be okay with, how you
whatever you want to do,
right? And then one like, nah, that's not me. You know what I mean? So all it takes is one. So to have this high a number of young women who are coming out and said they felt uncomfortable or they were put in situations that weren't conducive to what they were trying to do in terms of their career and their job, then there's a problem there. Where there's smoke, there's fire. So he needs to do some soul search. He needs to get himself together.
Well, look, at best, from what we know, Ephraim, at best, it looks like he was using this massage situation to meet women.
Yeah, the freaky dicky.
And there was something there, right. It was something within him that was into that type of, I don't want to say role playing, but that type of situation. Because obviously, you know this better than me. Good looking guy, NFL star, wealthy. Come on. He doesn't need to go through this to meet women.
No, you don't. But maybe that's his nightclub. Maybe that's his.
It was his.
Maybe that's his.
And that's at best, though.
Yeah, that's at best.
At worst, he was doing what was alleged of him. So we will see, but we both feel like a year is appropriate.
Yes.
And those are the reports that's what the league will push for. So we'll see if that comes to pass. And Ephraim, we were just talking about Deshaun Watson and what may happen, how long this suspension may be. And regardless of the suspension, we know he got a 5-year, $230 million fully guaranteed deal. And Josina Anderson, longtime NFL reporter, used to work with her over at ESPN. She reported today, or it's not reported, but she said she was, on the Pat McAfee show, I believe. Mm-hmm. And it was on Friday. She said it. She said that Lamar Jackson, who obviously doesn't have a lucrative long-term contract yet with the Ravens, that he should ask for $10 million more than Deshaun Watson, on the grounds that at the very least, I'm available. So 5 years, 240 at least. What are your thoughts on that?
It's right around that area, because that's why there was the uproar with the owners when Cleveland did that deal, right?
Absolutely.
Because Deshaun Watson is a dynamic talent without a doubt, but he hasn't done anything really in the league, right? He has all the skills to do something. He sat out all of last year. The young man is 26 years old. He's got his whole future ahead of him in the NFL when he does get back on the field.
Yep.
But they set the bar. They set the market value for a starting quarterback with elite caliber abilities.
Yep.
And so, as you know, it's hard to deviate from that bar once it's been set. Right? No agent or player is going to be like, well, I mean, you gave this guy that. Oh, by the way, I have an MVP. I've taken my team to the playoffs. Right? All of the success you would want. That
he's done more than Deshaun. Not to mention
he's done more than most of the top quarterbacks in the league at an early age. Now, the only knock and only pushback Baltimore can have is their style of play, doesn't warrant that much long-term guaranteed money because we need you to be available. He came off an injury. He was hurt last year, missed some games. Now, Lamar could push back like, oh, I could change my style of play. I can protect myself.
Well,
now
and be worth all that money.
But that's what I'm saying. Now, that's where the sticking point, that's where the argument comes in. That's where the negotiation comes in. And that's where, in my opinion, an agent would help. Now, I'm all for this young man representing himself, but there are levels to this game that we as players, we don't know yet.
Right.
And he's putting himself in a situation where he has to go negotiate with master negotiators without fully understanding, the levels of contract and negotiating and worth and how to structure that. But he definitely deserves that type of money.
Ephraim, if he's not going to hire an agent, and I hope he already has this, but he should have a lawyer who he's paying hourly doing the negotiating. I hope he and his mom aren't in there negotiating.
That's going to be tough, man.
That's nothing against he and his mom. Me and my mom, when she was in her prime, so to speak, we wouldn't be capable of negotiating a deal just don't know. It's not what you do.
It's
just
too
like
much
that
stuff.
agent or lawyer can't be in the huddle. You know what I mean? It's not a knock. It's just you're hurting yourself. And you brought up the point about his style of play. Ephraim, I don't know what's going on, but from what it seems like the Ravens are ready to negotiate and give him a deal. Now, it might not be quite what he wants. Probably isn't what Deshaun Watson got. But it seems like he's not even that serious about negotiating. Now, maybe those are lies and false reports. But from what is being reported, it seems like he's not concerned about doing this deal right now, which to me is crazy for the reason you said. His style of play puts him in harm's way more than your average quarterback. And when you lose a step, then you're not going to be as effective in that style of play. And Ephraim, he's coming off back-to-back years of decline. Now, he's still been good, very good, but from when he won the MVP a few years ago, the next year was a decline, and then the next year was another decline last season, and he got hurt.
Yep.
So I think he needs to lock up the money.
He's got to lock up the money. Right. And if he can get anywhere near that 230, fully guaranteed, then you take that. Maybe it's 250 and not all of it's fully guaranteed. Like there are ways to negotiate that and be savvy with negotiation. Like I wouldn't represent myself in court. Right. Like me and my mom wouldn't represent me in court if I didn't go to law school.